what we're going to be looking at today will be your writing data. So we're going to look at two forms of data today. One's the NAPLAN. Of course, we don't have the writing sample to reflect upon, but I did put on your tables what all years, 3, 5, 7 and 9, had to look at to get some ideas about writing. All right, and that's going to show up in some of your data as well when we go through it. All right, so that's what each of the groups had to do to get the scores that you see, to get those marks, to get the what came from the rubric. That'll be there. We're also going to look at a writing sample that you brought along. Can I just have a show of hands if you brought a writing sample along of a student? Is that a high hands? Thanks, high. Okay, so what we may do, because quite a few of you didn't bring some along, if it's okay, we might get some of your writing samples photocopied, just so that you go through the process of looking at a writing sample, if that's all right with you. The other reason for asking for writing samples is that Northern Region has started to set up an exemplars book of writing samples that match the progression points and the standards. And every one of you will get a book, and in that book you'll be able to see the standards, the progression points, the continuum. You'll be able to see 1 or 2 exemplars of writing that demonstrate what we're looking for at certain levels. All right, so we'll be looking at, I'll just recap, the NAPLAN data any minute now. And what's that data telling you? Then we're going to be looking at a writing sample. So there's a couple of things in between that, though, that are relevant to that. But the main idea for each of these sessions is this. We'll be doing a think, pair, share about looking at our writing sample as well, because it's the process I want you to go through today. Not so much just gleaning information from your writing sample, that's important, but it's mainly, this is another way I can collect data. So we've been collecting data using NAPLAN. Now I want to show you how you can collect that relevant data to do your planning for what your students don't have, all right, so that you can support their learning. We'll be looking at vowels, and you've got your writing vowels are on the table. I've put a copy out for each of you. There's a white one there, that's a copy for each. But also on your table, just 2 sets of the writing continuum and the teaching strategies at each of the levels from 3 to 6. So you can reflect upon this as well, because this has some really great ideas on the progression, indicators of progress. So that if you look at those indicators of progress, in a meeting I had yesterday afternoon with some colleagues, one of them suggested that this might be part of a rubric that you could develop as well. So we need to be thinking along those lines. Pardon me. Oh, sorry. Okay, so we're also going to be looking at the zone of proximal development. We'll be doing some reading on that. And I've divided you into small groups, hence the different colours of the readings, why some are the same. So if you just have a quick sneak preview of what you might be doing. So if your last name, your surname, begins with A to F, you'll be reading pink. And hence, so you can read the rest of it. All right, so that's how I'll be dividing you up. And then you'll be going into jigsaw groups or expert groups and reading, going off with all your pinks, all your purples, all your blues, and all your yellows. All right, and then discussing it, reading it, and then coming back and sharing it with your colleagues. All right, so that's another protocol that you can be using also in your classrooms. So any of these protocols that I do with you are also very good learning strategies in your classrooms for getting kids to talk and discuss. So we'll be looking at Vygotsky, and then we're going to be using a vocabulary building activity, which is the I Spy, a word scavenger hunt, using those very readings. But I'll explain it all. I'm doing it very quickly for you now so that you get a picture of what we're doing this morning. Then after morning tea, we're going to do some vocab development activities. So I've got an array of things there. I promised that I would model a word splash for you, so we're going to build some of those. And to show you how you can do that in any content area, not specifically English. All right, so that's what we're actually going to do.